I'd like to bring to order the regular board meeting, February 6, 2024. Mr. Williams, would you lead us in a prayer?
Let us pray. Oh, the Father of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Father, once again, we are at this place, this building on side of the road. Father, once again, we ask you if you would be with us, strengthen us in the things that we have to do, the decisions that we have to make, and help us to grow stronger as a county, Father, closer together, letting each other know that we got you back. We might not always agree, but at the end of the day, we'll try to put Middlesex first. In Jesus Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Anne Marie, would you lead us in the pledge, please?
Pledge allegiance to the flag.
All righty. Welcome everybody today for our regular board meeting for February. And let's move along to the approval of the consent agenda. Sorry, roll call.
Mr. Crittenden,
Here.
Mr. Jesse,
Here.
Mr. Williams,
Here.
Mr. Bill Harris,
Here.
Mr. Don Harris.
Here. Right. Moving right along. Let's go now for the approval of the consent agenda. And Heather, you have something you want to
Yes,
say, please?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Thank you so much for that. So I would like to propose a change to the minutes to the January 3rd. And then I understand that Ms. Riccardi, we would like to remove the January 5th minutes that are in the January 5th board work session minutes from the consent agenda. And so what I'd like to propose, if the board's agreeable, is that let me read the change that I'd like to make to the January 3rd minutes. If that's agreeable, then we can do one motion to approve the consent agenda with my requested change and the removal of the January 5th minutes. It'll be a nice run-on motion, but we can do it all in one.
Please proceed.
Okay, thank you. So what I'd like to have revised, please, is page 12 of your packet. It's the third paragraph from the top from the January 3rd minutes. And it starts with Mrs. Lewis informed the board that she had talked to Botetourt County and Caroline County attorneys, and they had already decided not to participate. I believe after listening to the recording, that's a typographical error. It should have been, they had already agreed to file a notice to participate. So the way I reworded that was, the way I'd like the minutes to be revised, please, is to say, Mrs. Lewis informed the board that she had spoken with Botetourt County and Caroline County attorneys, and both of those counties had already filed notices to participate. So this is active litigation. These counties have had previous success in negotiating a reduction in Aqua's requested rate increase and are hoping that Middlesex, as well as other counties, will join in the effort to negotiate a reduction in Aqua's new rate request. Aqua had a 10% increase in 2021 and are now asking for a 33% increase. If we hire experts, it could substantially increase the possibility of reducing the rate increase being asked for by Aqua. So I'd ask that that paragraph be removed and replaced with that paragraph. If the board's agreeable, the way the motion would go is a motion to approve the consent agenda with Mrs. Lewis's recommended changes to the January 3rd minutes and the removal of the January 5th minutes from the consent agenda.
Thank you. So with that in mind, that a motion would be in order to accept what the revisions are and Mrs. Lewis' explanation to that.
So moved.
And is there a second?
I'll second it.
So moved. Motion made by Mr. Crittenden and second by Mr. Jesse. Roll call, please.
Mr. Jesse,
Aye.
Mr. Williams,
Aye.
Mr. Bill Harris,
Aye.
Mr. Crittenden,
Aye.
Mr. Don Harris.
Aye. Motion's approved.
And Mr. Chairman, we'll have the revised, the January 5th minutes will be updated and completed and ready for your review at the next meeting.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. Moving right along, the floor is open for public comments. And
I do not have any public comments, but if there are anyone here to speak,
would you review the rules for that? I know that John knows it, but let's just review it.
yes. Each speaker must give his or her name or an address for the record. They will be given one opportunity to speak. All comments shall be addressed to the Board of Supervisors. You are limited to a total of 3 minutes unless you're representing a group, at which time it can be up to 4 people, up for 12 minutes.
Thank you very much.
You have the floor, sir.
Hello, my name is John Farrenholt. I'm from Hartfield. I'm here to talk on a couple of points. The main topic that I'd like to talk about is the dredging of Broad Creek and the importance of that dredge. I understand this will be done in 2 phases. First phase will be a spot dredge of the channel, and then followed by a more in-depth, long-term dredge. I also understand through conversations that the spot dredge will be funded through the county's dredge fund, and then the other dredge would be associated with a grant and other resources. I think it's very, very important that we get this spot dredge done as soon as possible. I've talked with Dave Kretz and understand the ball is in his court, and he is moving it right along. And I think it's very, very important that we do everything we possibly can do to get that done, before the boating season this year. Broad Creek is very, very important to the overall county. I estimate there are probably at least 1,500 boats in Broad Creek as we speak today. And all of those need to be able to get in and out of that channel, as well as all of the transients and other business that come down the bay and down the rivers into Broad Creek. So I can't tell you how more important it is to get that done. If there's anything that the board needs from the marinas and boatyards associated with Broad Creek, all you gotta do is ask. We are there to help out in any way we can. I've already talked to some of my colleagues down there regarding the disposal of the dredge material, making sure that we have a site for that to offload that as quickly as possible and as close as possible to the county's area where they put the dredge material. So again, we're all there for you. You just let us know what you need from us, and we'll be glad to assist in any way we can. The second topic is one associated with the water system and proposed sewer systems. I've been talking over with some of my other business colleagues, as well as some of the board supervisors here, regarding ways that we can do to increase the participants, so the number of people that have signed up for water and sewer. And one idea that I've had that I've used myself back in another area is something associated with an abatement program that incentivizes residents and businesses to sign up. It is something that other counties have done just for sewer and water, and it's a very successful program that is out there. It is a way to incentivize residents and businesses to sign up for it. If it's done correctly, it costs the county no money, but you have to be able to put forth a very good program for people to sign up. And it's easily done. The devil's in the details to manage it properly, but it can be done. And I'll be glad to talk to anyone that would like to discuss an abatement program and what they're all about, because I've done it successfully, and it's a very, very good for the programs that everybody's trying to make work here in the county. Those are the 2 topics I had to discuss. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for your comments. The MPPDC dredging update's gonna take place, here shortly. That will be presented. And I would encourage you, Mr. Farrenholt, to talk to our county engineer and or y'all get your heads together on which direction or how you need to present that possibly to the Water Authority.
I'll be glad to do so.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else would like to speak?
Good afternoon. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, my name's Ted Costin. Some of us met just before the meeting. I'm the new administrator for Urbana, and I just wanted to come out and let you all put a face with a name. I want you to know that Chairman Harris and I have met, and I've met on several occasions, several conversations with your administrator, Mr. Walker, and members of his staff, and all have been very welcoming and helpful. As those topics that we may have talked about just develop, Administrator Walker will surely bring those to your attention. But I want you to feel free to give me a call or reach out to me as you see fit. I think I've passed out all my cards. Mr. Williams, you have one there at your place. I think we missed each other before the meeting. I would like to tell you about just two events very quickly, so that you can kind of put these on your calendar, and I'll lock these down with the administrator. We will be doing a pre-July 4 fireworks show. We hope to wrap that contract up this week, and we'll certainly send out that information. We've had a chance to talk to the representatives of the fire company about some of those details. And then also, we are looking to open the newly built replacement pool for Urbana on or about Memorial Day. And we'll certainly invite you all to that occasion. I'd also like to let you know that we've been working through the school system. We've reached out through the school system to try to recruit lifeguards as well as pool managers. So if you know anybody, send them my way. I certainly would appreciate it. Thank you. Be happy to take any questions you have. I just wanted to have an opportunity to say hello. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Costin. All right. Yes, sir. Come forward.
Yes, good afternoon. I'm Don Pringle from 137 Neptune Lane, Deltaville. I'm also the owner of Regatta Point Yachting Center, which I happen to be right in front of where we need all the dredging to go forward. So I would encourage you guys to, let's make sure we're keeping on track. As John Farrenholt had said, we do need to get this done before this year's boating season. I can tell you on pretty much a weekly basis, we have boats running aground. You know, recognize some of the board members from last year, and you guys heard me up here last year stating that, this is getting shallower and shallower, or narrower and narrower, and doing nothing really isn't an option. Unless, of course, you don't want Broad Creek anymore to be feasible for commercial or anything else. So I think you guys need to take the appropriate steps, make sure it moves forward, timely basis, and let's get it done.
Thank you,
guys.
sir. I'll just make a quick comment. There's been a lot of discussion about that quite frequently. We'll be talking about it more today, but we do understand the importance of the ability for Broad Creek to be operative to anybody coming into there. So it is a hot topic and it's being well discussed. Thank you, sir. All righty. No further comments. Anybody else? If not, let's move forward to the constitutional officers treasure report. And I guess it's in our packet. I don't see anybody from the treasurer's office here. Correct? Mr. Walker? Okay. And you also report from the Commissioner of Revenue report only will be in the packet as well. Moving forward, item number 4, agency and staff reports. And top of the list is VDOT, Lee McKnight and Cassandra Lord.
Mr. Chairman, just for the record, I believe you closed public comment period. Was that correct? And I missed it. I apologize.
No, I did not. And thank you for pointing that out.
No, I
I'm so agenda focused, I forgot
know
to do
I
that.
don't want to slow you down, but I'm sorry. Okay. I don't think there's anyone else. So I think it's closed.
Okay. Do we have a motion to close the public?
It's closed.
Okay, it's closed. I thought that was pretty obvious. Okay. Keep me on track, County Attorney, please. Now,
Now, Lee, I just was giving you a back and
how about
forth.
Mr. McKnight come forward?
All right. Well, good afternoon, members of the board. My name is Lee McKnight. I'm the residency administrator for Saluda Residency right here in Saluda. I do have Cassie Lord, Miss Cassie Lord. She's our district planning director up in Fredericksburg District. And today there is a presentation. Anne Marie, could we? I did want to just go over really quickly the proposed Urbana shared use path and present that to the board for your consideration and answer any questions that you may have in regards to that project.
I don't have it.
You don't have it? It should be a PowerPoint. Okay.
Yes, please.
I believe Matt sent that yesterday. You sent the administration?
I'm looking now.
Probably in an email. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
No, fine. Let's clear it up.
Yeah.
I need to have it sent over to here.
So while there, I'll just present it really quick and hopefully we can get that up here. The project was applied for by Middlesex County through the federal, it's a federal grant called Transportation Alternatives or TAP funding. It is a federal funded program. The shared use path would pick up roughly where the current sidewalk in Urbana ends on the Mexican restaurant side of town and continues that path up past the Mexican restaurant and the oyster company there on Virginia Street. Some items that I wanted to make the board aware of. Again, this is federally funded. The county has 4 years to build the project after it's funded. That's very important. The assumption is that the PE would begin in either fiscal year 26 or fiscal year 27. To illustrate how much we're seeing inflation affecting these types of projects, the estimate or the match that would need to come from the county in fiscal year 26 would be about $99,000. In fiscal year 27, with inflation, the 80-20 match would be about $104,000 by the county. So inflation does impact this the longer it continues. Again, this is TAP funded. The county will be able to, it's an 80-20 match, so up to $2.5 million. So there is a cap that this funding is allowed to go to. Anything past that, the county will be on the hook for the difference. The total project cost is estimated to be $4.3 million with inflation. The county requested the full $2.5 million of TAP funding. So the county would match 20% of that, which is $500,000. The deficit would need to be covered by the county. The deficit is estimated to be $1.3 million for a total county investment of $1.8 million. Again, this is all estimates, projecting out into the out years. But with all that being said, we definitely want to make sure that there is an avenue. We feel pretty good that this will be approved for the $2.5 million that the county requested initially. But before we got too far down this road, we want to make sure that the board is aware of the financial impacts and requirements that the county would be required to pay as part of this project. With that, I would be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Questions? Go ahead. Don't be shy.
What is the what's the aim of this particular? I'm new here. What's the aim of this we're connecting what to what?
So the county applied for this funding to connect where the current sidewalk ends in Urbana with eventually, I'm assuming, getting all the way down to the
Campground.
part, the.
Oh, Bethpage?
Bethpage. Yes, sir.
How close does it get us to Bethpage?
This does not get us all the way to Bethpage. It gets you to Blue Crab Lane. So there's still quite a distance to go.
Okay, thank you.
What is the length of this?
You know, off the top of your head, Cassie? I don't know that figure off the top of my head. I'd have to scale it. I don't know.
Do you have anything that's broken down to like cost per foot?
We do not do cost per, now, I will say the same rationale that was used on this for estimating was the same as what we used on the Deltaville shared use path. So this is the most recent numbers that we have in regards to that. But we don't typically break it up in terms of price per foot. It becomes very tricky, especially when right-of-way is involved or utilities or that sort of thing.
Thank you.
I have a couple questions. If I had to guess, I'd say it's about a third of what the long-term project may be, of what they're doing today, looking to do. What's the time sensitivity of this project and when we have to make a firm decision?
The CTB member has to make a decision by the 13th of February, I believe, Cassie, if that's correct. So we wanted to provide her, an answer from the board of whether or not the board would be supportive of this project before that date, if possible.
And when does the grant run out?
When does the grant run out?
Yes, I think you said 4 years.
Oh, yes.
Is
Yeah.
that correct?
Yes, sir. The project has to be built within 4 years after it is funded. Yes, sir.
And we applied for that in 23, I believe. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And if we don't meet the February timetable, what happens?
Cassie, would you like to speak? In all likelihood, the CTB member would probably choose to fund a different project. But she wanted to kind of offer this to Middlesex County first.
Lee, let me ask a question. I think's the elephant in the room. If we choose to pause on this project for a couple of years, is it likely that it would be funded later?
Very possible. I will, with the caveat, and I've already kind of illustrated it, prices are not going down. It's only going to get more expensive. And I understand if that's the county's prerogative to pause on it. Just want to make sure that you're aware of what that means.
Okay, just so I'm a little clear, on the February, what was it, 13th? Is that
Yes,
the
sir.
date? If we elect to, what happens if we say we want to postpone the project? Does that grant money immediately go away for that project, even though we have to spend it in 4 years?
Well, the money has not been granted yet for this project. This is more of a precursor. Would the county be supportive and willing to pay the deficit between that before it's granted officially? So if you decide that the county's not willing at this time or not in a good spot to do that, that's perfectly fine. We can reapply in a later year for the funding.
Go ahead, Wayne.
No, I was just looking at everything, and that's a assumption project call, so it could be much higher.
It is an estimate.
Yeah,
Yes,
it's an
sir.
estimate, and that's where it gets
Yep.
shaky for me, as I'm saying, is to say, hey, let's go ahead with it and gamble on it. And with a lot of things that we got going on right now, I'm a little reluctant to say, hey, yeah, let's go for this project right now. But that's just I'm just one vote, and at this time, I think it's not really a good idea at this time with all the other things we got going on in the plate. And
Any other questions?
If we put in for it, we get it,
and we change our mind that we don't want it, what are we obligated for?
Cassie?
Okay, so if say you guys were granted the money and then you decide to, you decide not to move forward with the project, so the project would get canceled, that could impact you for the next 2 rounds of TAP funding. Basically, you would be ineligible to receive TAP funding for the next 2 rounds. So that would be the next, I think the next round's gonna start in 2 years, so then it would be that one and the one after that, you guys would not be eligible for any projects.
So let's be clear. If we decide we're not going to move forward with the project today, that doesn't necessarily affect us
No, it won't affect you at all.
on the next time that we
Yeah.
ask for that. It does affect us if we decide to move forward and then we decide to pull out.
Right. Yes, which is the other reason that we wanted to talk to you guys first about it and everything before the CTB member made her final decision. Just so that you guys were very clear on what we were finding in the cost estimate.
Which is a little bit of a concern
Yeah.
for sure. Okay, any further questions? Would you like to make a motion, Mr. Jesse?
Yeah, I would just like to make a motion that, we would, decline to accept this project at this time.
At this time,
At
I
this time.
second it.
okay, Mr. Jesse has made the motion that we're going to slow down at this point, and, Mr. Williams has seconded the motion. Could we have a roll call?
The second was Mr. Bill Harris.
Oh, I'm sorry. They sound so much alike. I got confused at times. Roll call, please.
Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Bill Harris,
Yes.
Mr. Crittenden,
Yes.
Mr. Jesse,
Yes.
Mr. Don Harris.
Yes.
See?
Thank you, Lee, for
Yes,
coming
sir.
here. We appreciate it.
Yes,
We
sir.
appreciate all you do in trying to help us with what we need to get help on, but at this time, we're gonna wait a little bit.
Understood.
David wanted to make clear, you guys can, technically, the next round of TAP, you can reapply. for
Yes.
this
Yeah,
project.
yeah.
So
Yes.
it's not like this will be
Yeah.
completely thrown out.
Thank you for being here today.
Thank you all.
Mr. Chairman, if you'll indulge me, Lee, when do you think we would have a more robust update on the Deltaville project?
Well, yeah, but we're in, I mean, it is moving along. I actually just asked Cassie this morning. She's probably shaking in her boots right now.
No, I'm not
About
gonna put you on the spot today, but maybe by June, you think?
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Very good.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay. Always our favorite to see, would the school superintendent come forward, Dr. Sykes and or Karen Mary? Or not?
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
We are happy to be here this
We're happy to
afternoon.
see you.
Good, 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 good. So you have in your packet on pages 72 and 73, budget supplement requests. I'm happy to go into detail, but I'll certainly give you an overview of what they entail. The first couple of things are related to grants. The first one is a tuition grant that we had received that RCC had worked on to provide tuition reimbursement to get a specific teacher endorsed for dual enrollment teaching at the high school. And then the second item is a grant that we received on training teachers on restraint and seclusion practices. And then we also have finally received the payment from HRSD for the sale of that property next to St. Clair Walker. The next two items are actually appropriations and the actuals from the state that come to us on a yearly basis. So I'm happy to answer any more specific questions about these items.
Questions? If not, there would be, it'd be in order for a motion for FY 2024-14 for the school system.
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we approve the, budget supplement request form FY 2024-14.
Thank you, sir.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Jesse and a second by Mr. Crittenden. Any further discussion? Not seeing any, roll call, please.
Mr. Bill Harris,
Yes.
Mr. Crittenden,
Yes.
Mr. Jesse,
Yes.
Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Don Harris.
Yes. Motion carried.
Very good. I was going to update you on our overflow parking at the elementary school. We have published the bids. We had a pre-bid. It was a non-mandatory pre-bid meeting last Friday. There were a couple of contractors who did show up for that. And I think a total of 7 contractors have picked up the bid package. And we'll have openings for that on February 23rd. So on schedule for completion right before the start of the school year.
Wonderful. You good about the time frame here, what you got to work with on this?
Yes, and we have continued to impress upon those who have packets that that's a hard stop date for a couple of reasons, both for school starting and for the grant funds expiring. So everybody feels the contractors that were there did specify that looks like a pretty simple project and didn't see any problems with completing it on time. Of course, weather, we have some major things go on. We know that could slow things down a little bit, but other than that, everything looks like it's going to be completed on time.
Great. Anything else you want to enlighten us on?
Nope. I know we have a couple of joint meetings coming up that I think are probably on all of your calendars on the 13th. We come together, both of our boards, and I'll present the school's budget, which I'm presenting first to the school board on Monday, the 12th. It'll actually be the same presentation, but you're happy to join us for both. Then the following week on the 20th, our boards come together again. And this was a result of our Middlesex High School renovation committee and inviting the architectural firm to come back and provide, kind of update our new members on both boards, give us some updates maybe on construction cost, not specifics, but some ranges there, and really more to engage the boards in discussion on what we're looking at, timelines and those things. So looking forward to that meeting also. And the 20th meeting will be at Middlesex High School in the Media Center at 6 p.m.
Wonderful. Anything else, Dr. Sykes?
I don't think I have anything else, but I'm happy to answer any questions that the board may have.
I got one question. The parking lot, is that total funded by grant money?
Yes, sir.
Would it be used for something else?
It's ESSER funds. And so we already went through the application process with the state, and it's all been allocated towards the parking area. Yes, sir.
Wonderful. Thank you, ladies, for being here today. We appreciate it, and it's always good to see you.
All right. Thank you.
Next on the agenda is item C, Social Services Report Only. Pages 74 and 75. Any questions? All right, if not, we're going to move right along. Item D, PDDDC dredging update, Kurt Smith.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the board.
Good afternoon.
I've been asked to speak on 2 topics today. One is the Mill Creek Boat Ramp design project, and the second is the Broad Creek spot dredging project. If it's okay with you, I'd like to address the boat ramp project first, since we have our project engineer on Zoom with us here today. If that's okay, we'll address that first and then
Move forward. Thank you,
sir. Okay, so as you're aware, we have been under contract with the county to execute a grant to advance to study and advance a solution to the shoaling project at the Mill Creek boat ramp or Carlton Road boat ramp. We've been meeting with your county engineer, the director of planning for a number of months. We've contracted Wetland Studies and Solutions to study the site, understand the dynamics, how sediment's moving through that system, and come up with a suite of alternatives and various costs associated with those alternatives for to determine the optimal solution for how to manage the shoaling at that site. To date, we've in addition to that, we've had some meetings with the owners and which is VDOT and the Department of Wildlife Resources, which is responsible for maintaining the site. And they've expressed really no interest in taking on any of these solutions in their roles at the site. So where we are with this grant is you will hear soon the suite of alternatives that we've come up with for the site. And under the grant, we can advance whatever your preferred alternative may be towards a final design. It wouldn't commit you to anything. It just would queue up whatever might be your preferred alternative in case you ever want to do anything in the future with that site in particular. The other alternative is you can tell us to stop where we are and we don't need to even do any more work towards developing a final solution. So unless there are any questions on the big picture down there, I'd like to turn it over to Ingrid Bauer with Wetland Studies and Solutions so she can walk you through various alternatives.
That would be fine. Let's move forward.
Yes, sir.
All right. Can you hear me okay? Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, that's better.
Better now. Thank you.
Great. I'm going to share my screen here. There we go. All right. So we initially had 4 alternatives, and after a design review meeting with representatives from MPPDC, from the county adjacent landowners, VDOT and DWR, we narrowed it down to 2 proposed designs. And again, as Kurt mentioned, doing nothing is also an option. Currently, the area is being dredged 1 to 2 times a year, if I'm not correct, this boat basin area. Alternative number 1 calls for dredging the boat basin, dredging a sediment trap, which has previously been part of the project, but has not been dredged in probably 10 plus years. This is a slightly different configuration, but the idea would be to get back additional capacity before the sand gets into the boat basin area, which would elongate time that needs to happen between dredging cycles. Rehabilitate the jetty here. It has some holes in it. Then we have a dune propagation area right here, which would basically be cutting down the level of the sand so that there's more capacity for wind-blown sand to be captured there through plants before it flows over into the boat basin. And then some additional vegetation planting back here. The sediment trap here, in order to get to the capacity that we need, would need to go onto private property due to some of the activity that's happened here. We don't want to put it right next to the jetty and risk having a hole like is now impact the long-term functionality. Along with that, we would install offshore reefs, artificial reefs. And the point of those would be to help trap the sediment, which is coming from this direction, and get it to settle out in the sediment trap before it migrates around. In addition to this work, one-time work on private property here would be to kind of realign this channel that's currently carrying sediment through the hole in the jetty into the boat basin. This channel is not effectively transmitting flow from this tidal pond back here to the creek. And so if we fill in the old channel and then realign the channel here, rehabilitate this groin. It's a wooden structure that would prevent sediment from washing directly into the channel. That would help this flushing in and out of the tide happen more effectively and keep the channel from realigning to attack the jetty again. So this would be one-time work. Dredging of the boat basin and the sediment trap would be routine work. And I have a table that kind of shows the expected frequency of that. But first I want to review the second option. A lot of this second option you just saw in the first option. The main difference is rather than having the offshore reef, we would extend the jetty here and keep the sediment trap on the public property rather than needing to get the capacity by going into private property here. Again, the boat basin and sediment trap dredging would be done at regular intervals. This work over here would just be done once, and then we would not need to access that should not need to access that private property again, unless a particularly large storm came through. As far as comparisons, pull up some data here. The initial cost of concept 2 is a bit higher than that of concept 1. The regular maintenance cost, like every time you go in to do maintenance, would also be higher because it has a larger capacity than option 1 does. However, the frequency at which option 2 would need to be maintained is longer. It's 5 to 6 years rather than 4 to 5 years. So overall, over 10 years, the costs are pretty similar. Over a longer life cycle, concept 2 actually ends up being less expensive. Maintenance frequency, I already hit on. Potential for frequency to be more favorable than projected. Both of those could be better than what we're saying. Some of the previous, some of the eliminated alternatives did not have that. Work on private property, option 1 would, or concept 1 would likely need long-term access to private property. As I mentioned, that sediment trap would extend onto private property. So might be a need for a long-term easement or some sort of long-term agreement with the private property owner. And that's so that you could have that capacity that would allow you to have that longer time between dredging cycles. For concept 2, you'd likely only need it for that initial work to realign the channel. And then after that, it's unlikely to be required unless a very large storm comes through and you need to realign the channel. Ease of permitting, option 1 is slightly easier than option 2 because option 1 has less of a footprint that is different than what's already been permitted. I think that summarizes what I have, but I'm happy to answer any questions or show any of this information again.
Mr. Chair, I forgot to mention too, the adjacent property owners were involved in the meetings we've had. So there have been some discussions about these concepts. This is conceptual level. The question at hand is, do you want us to spend the rest of the grant money to get a final design in place for either of these, or leave it where it is?
Questions for Mr. Smith?
Said you spoke with the property owners. What was their general feel of the project?
Ingrid, you may be able to speak more to that since you were more involved in those discussions. Did you hear the question?
Yes, I did hear the question. The adjacent property owners, we spoke with the Bowmans, and they would be the one that was most impacted by this. There's another property owner that we did not have much conversation with who may be involved. But the primary property owner we would be involved with were very supportive of the project. They see the boat ramp as being very valuable for the community and for them. And so they are very happy to support it. Their main thing was don't make it any easier for people to accidentally wander onto their property, which is easily accomplished by maintaining the plants, or should be easily accomplished by either of the designs that we proposed.
Was there any thought given to moving the boat ramp on the other side of the dock?
Yeah, I know there was. Ingrid, would you like to explain the rationale about moving the boat ramp?
Sure. Moving the boat ramp over to the other side of the dock, one, there's not enough property there to really move it. So you'd have to rearrange everything. It would be a lot more expensive to change the infrastructure around, and it would really only buy you time. So, and then you would be back into the cycle of needing to dredge them again. So you could either spend less money upfront and get a working system in order with the current configuration, or you can move it and spend a lot of money, more money moving it, and then just end up with the same problem.
Any other questions? How much was the grant for?
I believe it was in the ballpark of about $40,000 to $50,000.
Right.
And the county was paying a match portion of that, if I recall correctly.
Okay, and is there any grant money available for starting this project that we've been researching and talking about, et cetera?
We've been very successful in getting projects that deal with shoreline solutions. There are federal and state funds available. We haven't, that would be the next step, is if you were to choose a preferred solution, we get a final design and draft permit application in place that gives us all the information we need to then be able to identify and pursue a specific grant application when the time comes.
So what are we asking? What are you asking for today? For us to say, continue to move forward on the project?
It's yes, continue or stop. And if you want us to continue, which of concept 1 or 2 would you prefer us to do the final design for?
I'm not sure I can answer just for myself about making that decision today on 1 or 2. So is there any problem with you guys with us postponing the decision to maybe our next board meeting as an example?
Whatever the pleasure of the board is, we'll do whatever
Okay.
you ask us to do.
Discussion or motion?
Right. Oh, well, right now, Mr. Chair, I was just looking at everything and, in my opinion, I mean, it's good to table it and then get it back next month. But I'm just looking at, I think I like number 2, because you leave the private landowners out of it. And so much, a little bit, don't you? You leave them out of it. The neighbors next door, right?
Ingrid, can you, option 2, the impacts on the private property owners? Can you speak to that?
It less impacts them, put it that
Less
way.
impacts to the property owners, is that correct?
Less impacts, correct. Because
Yeah,
we
right.
wouldn't be regularly coming in and dredging out this portion. The regular dredging would take place offshore.
Right. And that's just one more me, but we can all research it a little bit more. But you know, just by looking at it, because you know, you have a lot of fishermen and you know that use that dock and it's always caving in and you know filling in and you gotta dredge it out and it's a continuous problem. But I just, you know, personally I just kind of like number 2. But we can table it if we want to.
Is everybody in agreement to table it until our next meeting?
I'm fine with tabling it, but I would hope that we could come up with some kind of solution that doesn't require maintenance every 4 or 5 years. I mean, we're going to do all this. I would hope that we could come up with some kind of way that, you know, I said about moving it and that's not feasible to do that. But I find just these 2 solutions all we have. Maybe we want to look at something that does cost more money, not that we want to spend more money, or not that we are going to spend more money, but just these 2 solutions here to where we have a constant maintenance cost of significant dollars. It's concerning to me, but I'm for tabling it as well.
We can take that suggestion and I can speak with Ingrid to see if any discussions were held around, you know, the size of the structures and the need to reduce the maintenance schedule moving forward. So
Unfortunately, to be able to maintain an access point at this site, you are going, because of the influx of sediment at this site. And that comes from pretty far up drift. So fairly far away. It's not a local, you know, shoreline that, you know, is right next door that maybe we can address that. It's from much further up based on like the movement of currents. So there is not a good way to pinpoint that source of sediment, but the sediment coming in is significant. And so if you want to maintain this boat ramp, I do not see any solutions for which you do not have a regularly occurring cost. If you want to change the frequency, you would need to have a larger sediment trap, which can be done as long as you can get the permit, but would require more real estate than what you have at that site.
Let me ask you kind of a frank question. Was this just a bad place to put a ramp?
It may not have been at one point in time, but because of the change in weather patterns that we're seeing, where we see storms of much higher intensity, they are really moving sediment. And the increasing water levels that we are seeing leave more shorelines more exposed. And so there's just kind of the perfect storm where this used to be sustainable. They only did dredging, once every 10 years, I think. And now it's just so much sediment coming in that once every 10 years is no longer cutting it.
Is this will this really change the shoreline here, say between the jetties? Will that change, in other words, bring it out farther? Do you think the beach, more beachy material there?
I'm not sure I understand the question.
I know that sometimes when you put a jetty in and when you put some sort of a structure out there, it will actually, it seems to make the beach broader or narrower depending on how it works. And I just wonder if you anticipate that changing this to any degree.
As long as the sediment trap is maintained as it fills in at the regular intervals, or if like a couple really big storms come through and kind of get it to like the dredging capacity threshold, as long as that trap is maintained, you should not see a change in the beach to further next to it.
Okay, thank you.
One other question to talk about. Since from my understanding, I was told that this didn't back sand up in it all along. Is it possible that somebody else done something on the shoreline that caused the sand to come back into our boat ramp?
I'll let Ingrid speak to that, but
Based on what we're seeing, or what I've seen when I did research into that, this sand is really coming from the north. And so I don't think that there is anything that happened at the site to change it. I think it's the change in weather patterns, the change in storm patterns that was really impacting kind of what's happening at this site. There are some islands to the north that I think are washing away that used to provide more protection and are instead not able to protect and also possibly contributing sediment. And that's just because of the increased storm intensity and the changing water levels. So I don't think there's anything that nefarious that was done or that changed specifically here.
So, Mr. Chairman, I have a quick question, couple of questions. Curtis, in light of your findings, I just want to come full circle. This did not change the state's opinion about maintaining this in partnership or maybe even by themselves?
no, DWR was very clear that they do not have the resources or the bandwidth to be able to keep up with this maintenance cycle.
Even with the two options that y'all presented?
That was my understanding.
Okay, and then I guess the next question is, I guess this is some of the, I don't know if we ever got anything official in writing from them, but I know we've verbally been told that they as the property owner just have no desire to continue to maintain the site, that it's good money after bad or what have you. I won't add that, but that's definitely the inclination that we've gotten heretofore from them. If we do decide to proceed and have the county take over the site, would it be preferable to take over ownership of the property from the state if we're gonna, or are they, I guess, amenable to signing some agreement that would allow us to do this type of extensive improvement to their property?
I think it could be done a number of ways.
Okay.
And it would just be up to the board for how you would want to structure that transfer.
Right.
And what level you all would want to be involved at.
Because it's my understanding the county owns one dock, but the state owns the boat ramp and the property. That's my understanding. Is that correct, Dave?
It's actually owned by VDOT.
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry,
It's
leased by.
maintained, yes, leased and maintained.
Well, Lee saw it on the agenda and he took off running, so. Okay, thanks, Curtis.
Do we need a motion to table this till the next meeting? Or just move that direction?
I would recommend you table it at least, and then maybe think about giving staff some guidance on how you want to proceed as not being the property owner. Do we want to try to acquire it from the state? I'm sure they'll give it to us. It won't be a price, but the board needs to think about that because it does come with some long-term maintenance obligations to it. So I guess that would be something that the board would want to think about while they consider it while it's tabled.
Okay, with no objections, we'll table it till the next meeting. Does that work for everybody? Okay. Thank you, Kurt, for being here today.
Yes,
And
sir. I will shift gears to Broad Creek if
Yeah, he's not done yet, Mr.
you all
Chairman.
would still like to hear more
Yep.
about sand moving around. Yes, so,
And can we pull up Google Earth on that? Because I don't know if we have a Broad Creek image, but I can pull up Google Earth and zoom in on it. Thanks, Anne Marie.
So we have been working with your staff and with our legal counsel to get the spot dredging project out to for procurement as soon as possible. And we have a draft procurement document prepared. And I would like to walk you all through what we have arranged and explain the reasoning why we are approaching it this way, suggesting approaching it this way. And obviously open to any feedback you all and objections you all have to anything at this point. So the idea here, of course, is we tried to hit the ground running, and obviously the objective is to get this spot dredging done as soon as possible. I want to stress that we can only control what we can control. Getting it out for procurement is one thing. Getting the draft, getting the design in place, the sampling and the design done is the second thing we can control. And once we enter the permitting stage, all bets are off. Once that permit application is submitted, we keep our fingers crossed and we do everything we can to influence an efficient permitting process. So with that being said, when approaching a dredging project, there's several pieces of fundamental information you've got to have to be able to design a dredging project. You've got to know where you want to dredge, what depth you want to dredge to, the volume of sediment, the type of sediment, and whether that sediment is contaminated or not. We've checked a few of those boxes here, but there's a lot of other sampling that needs to be done in order to support that full design. We have the bathymetric survey in place that the Army Corps did for the county in September, I believe, maybe September, October timeframe. The next step is to have, through this procurement, hire someone to go out and sample the sediment in the locations where dredging is needed. We'll need to sample for grain size and for contaminants of concern, including metals. We'll base all of that sampling protocol off of what was done previously by the Corps. So we know what's worked in the past in terms of getting the permit moved efficiently through the process. We want to follow that same sampling protocol. So what we are suggesting, and I've gone back and forth with our legal counsel on how to approach this, because it is somewhat of a different situation, because we don't have all the pieces of the puzzle to be able to advance this project. So we're recommending shaping this procurement as a request for proposals, which will allow the county to negotiate with your preferred offerer based off of experience in doing design. This is essentially a design build project. A design build project like this, their availability, who can get out there to do the sampling and pull together the design and permit application fastest will be a key scoring criteria we want to give preference for. And you can also, under RFP, you can also factor in cost. So we can also gather that information from offers to ensure we can do this in the most cost-effective way possible as well. So that is the idea, is to, what we are suggesting doing, since there are two phases of this project, as was stated earlier. We've got the spot dredging project, and hopefully to be followed up as soon as possible with the larger dredging project. We are recommending sampling the entire length of the channel, which would cover the spot dredging area all the way up into the interior portions of the creek, that eventually will get dredged, because the amount of time to actually do the field work while you're out there is it's not adding months or anything. We're talking adding hours, possibly days, to get that additional sampling, which will give us all the information we need about dredging needs in Broad Creek. We currently do not know the type of material and the volume of material that needs to be removed, or contaminants. Thank you, sir. What we do know is, for the spot dredging, we know that the most efficient way is to dredge the material from the trouble shoals out near the entrance of the creek and get them directly to the county's spoil area. So we want to make that very clear in the procurement, that the design will factor that in. That in short is what we're proposing as the RFP process is. Phase 1 will be sampling. Phase 2 will be designing and permit application development. Phase 3 will be the actual dredging. And we know time is of the essence, so we are recommending, if we can get the final feedback from you all here today, I can go back to my office and start pulling this together and hopefully get it on the street by the end of this week or early next week. That puts us in position to be able to start reviewing proposals by the end of the month, giving companies enough time to pull all these proposals together.
So you're looking for us to say, continue, move forward?
If there are no objections, I will return to my desk and continue working on this.
Mr. Chair, I'd just like to say something. This need to be done as soon as possible, because fishing season is just about gonna be here real soon.
Yes, sir.
And I think they need to get some fire on their feet. That's all I can say right now, because it's very important for the economic situation in that area.
What would you anticipate to be the timetable? When could we expect to see product be brought out of that trench?
If we can go through procurement in February, have somebody under contract in March, it depends on that availability answer we get from the companies. Ideally, we'll find somebody who can get out there in March or April, but we'll have to wait and see.
Great.
To begin the sampling work. Sampling itself is a matter of, it's a number of days to do the actual field work. And then there is time in the laboratory for grain size analysis and contaminant sampling.
I know there's some value in the product that comes out. I guess it depends on the composition of it, but I wouldn't want to slow anything down by trying to find somebody to buy it. But is that some way that we could recoup some of the money from selling that product?
Definitely. There's a lot of value in that material for a number of different uses. One of the ideas we've been discussing with your staff and internally here is what could be done to segregate the coarse sands that we know are at the entrance to the creek from the fine muds that are in the interior of the creek. So that way you've got flexibility in how you can sell or reuse or dispose of all that material. And that could be one thing that could be done, since we know we're going to be dredging the coarse sand first.
Right.
You might be able to create an interior berm in the spoil area and get that coarse sand and keep it away from the mud. And that gives you more flexibility in how you can reuse it. So there's options like that that are being discussed.
Right, and there are also some, I would assume this would probably be more for the long-term dredge, but a lot of that material, I understand, it can be used also for those tubes that you can fill up and use for
The geotubes.
right,
Yes.
different things that the other construction, marine construction can be used for.
We have more autonomy since you all are paying for the spot dredging. We have more autonomy with how we can dispose of or reuse the material. Once we shift gears and do the larger project, there are terms and conditions with the grant, which the grant was funded under a flood protection grant. So they want to see that beneficial reuse for flood protection. And that's when ideas like that will need to be considered.
Good, thank you.
But I guess one other thing I'll mention too, that's going to be that you all have autonomy for under this spot dredging is in the past, the dredging has always occurred in the federal channel, 100 feet wide, 7 feet depth. That's the Corps has always done it that way. We know these shoals that are causing people to run aground and causing all the problems at the entrance are coming from both directions. So you have autonomy, and we would put this into the RFP as well, to sample and design your project outside of that federal footprint area. So you can exactly the same concept you saw just a few minutes ago, that sediment trap, because it's called advanced lateral maintenance. You dredge wider, and that just buys you more time, because those shoals are going to keep pumping sand in there. And that's one of the things we definitely would like to utilize as much as possible.
Do you, during this project, you foresee the creek being blocked to transportation anytime?
Creek's 100 feet wide. I guess that's going to have to be something that needs to be considered, no doubt.
And if it runs into more of a boating season, the no wake may have to be extended further out temporarily.
Depending on the type of dredge that's used, because this could be done with mechanical or hydraulic dredge. Hydraulic dredges can take up a good chunk of a 100-foot channel.
So given commerce that we need to get in and out of there, blocking that channel is not something we'd be interested in.
Yes, sir.
Additional discussion? County Attorney, I'm not sure we need a motion for that. If we have a consensus to move forward, are we good with that?
I personally would prefer a motion at this point. I think just to be clear, I know for the planning district, part of our contract is we have to kind of enunciate clearly when we wish to move forward with things. So Kurt, what's your feeling on that?
I trust your guidance.
Yeah,
on
I
this.
just think at this point, so we all know we're on the same page. Yeah.
We've been given a green light to work with your faithful staff behind me here, and we'll continue to do so. But I guess as long as you all don't see any objections to the overall direction we're going with procurement and phasing this out as a design build project through the private sector, then we're just gonna keep moving as fast as we can.
Okay, a motion would be in order to have them continue to proceed in the direction that they're going.
So moved.
So moved on the motion by Mr. Crittenden,
I'll second it.
second by Mr. Jesse. Roll call, please.
Mr. Crittenden,
Aye.
Mr. Jesse,
Aye.
Mr. Williams.
Aye.
Mr. Bill Harris,
Aye.
Mr. Don Harris.
Aye, motion is approved. The only additive I'll add, we need you to run back to your office and get there as quickly as possible.
Yes, sir.
And communicate for us. We don't want it blocked.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Well taken.
Okay. Planning update. Mr. Kretz, always nice to see you.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Good to be here. Good afternoon, everybody. Just a couple items. Let me see. The first one, I'm not necessarily taking these in any order, but you may notice you had the annual report from our department. You'll notice that the numbers are very similar to they were past couple years as far as with respect to site plans and total permits issued and that type of thing. You'll see some bumps up and down, but for the most part, we've been fairly consistent with past few years, I guess that indicates some indicator that the economy is going about as it has the past few years as far as building and whatnot. You'll notice some violations have ramped up a little bit. That may be just a little bit more interest in violations and maybe past governing bodies and just the landscape of when people come around, sometimes things happen a little bit more. You might notice zoning permits jumped a little bit. They've spiked the past few years. You'll probably notice that spike again this year. Some of that's attributed to we're requiring zoning permits for home occupations. As part of our compliance, we're working with Commissioner's office as far as she just sent out a lot of business license requirements to a lot of citizens operating businesses in the county. And part of her requirement and part of our cooperation is she'll send that particular applicant for a business license over to zoning to get confirmation that the use is allowed. It's a viable home occupation. So all we do is get a one-time zoning permit on that, and that covers them for their home occupation. These could be professional type occupations, like insurance adjusters, engineers who are working at home, that type of thing. We noticed in the past that some of our home occupations, if they're not tracked properly, sometimes they tend to explode into something they're not supposed to be. We have documentation. If somebody says they're going to operate a mobile automotive service where their office is at their house and they're just going to go work on cars at different locations. And next thing you know, they have a 6-bay garage up there. We have documentation saying, no, you're not supposed to be doing that. So some of it's, you may hear some of the citizens grumble about this procedure, but it's just tracking and procedure for us. So you have the report. Does anybody have any questions on it specifically? It's pretty straightforward. It pretty much track the years.
Questions? Discussion? Okay, with that being said,
I'm just gonna, Mr. Chairman, I'm gonna jump around a little bit. I'm gonna jump to the last item. Just a quick update on a comprehensive plan. Actually, Kurt and I met with the Berkeley group, it was last Friday. And what we're gonna do is have the Berkeley group do an audit of the comprehensive plan. They'll give us, they'll compare it with state code, any deficiencies in it, they'll make a list of those deficiencies. And once those items are inventoried, then we can come back and talk with Berkeley Group. Some of them may be bigger tasks that we could get them to consult on. Some of them a lot of these are in-house things that we can obviously do ourselves. So this is kind of a work in progress as we go through this, we'll get an idea of what we need to work on. And then we'll come back to the board and say, okay, this is, these things we may get the Berkeley Group. And I think these things here we can do in-house. So that is progressing. It's been sitting there a couple of years. I know we started actually in COVID probably, and COVID pretty much killed everything. And so now we're, it's been trying to get everybody together. We kind of have a new approach to it. So we are kind of moving forward with the comp plan update. Last item I have is the derelict vessel grant opportunity that VMRC has put out there. I may have discussed this with some of the board members. I checked around with a couple of the other counties. I think it's been utilized mainly for vessels that were left at piers. And I talked with one staff member, emailed one staff member with a locality, and he felt strongly that their county shouldn't be messing with anything over state bottom. The code says that VMRC is responsible for removal of these vessels, and they've made it look good by giving this grant program, but they've dumped the responsibility onto the locality basically. So Larger localities have utilized this, like Virginia Beach. They'll gladly take the money and they have the capacity, but some of these are very simple. Matt can probably remember several years ago, we had a vessel dumped at Lockley's Creek. And this might have been a good opportunity. I don't think it cost a lot of money to remove that vessel because it floated. So it would just contracted to take it away and dispose of it. If you have a vessel that's sitting on state bottom, you have a tremendous amount of extra cost involved in getting it. Plus, if you read this grant language, the county is responsible for, if we had an environmental disaster, we would be basically on the hook for it. We would have to go after the contractor. So you'd have to have some pretty extensive procurement language if the board so decided to want to utilize this grant to pursue removal of a vessel. So this is not an action item. You can discuss it if you wish, but I just wanted to make the board aware of it. So it is out there. It was kind of initiated, last spring of last year, and it seems to have worked for some localities, but you get into that philosophical debate. Do we want to be doing the state's work for them? They seem to be pretty good at diverting our work our way, so to speak.
Some kind of way though, that vessel down there behind that island's got to go. I mean, I get calls about it. I see it myself. I've
Yeah.
crabbed around it and everything else. And we talking about environmental impact, talking about our county here, and to us not be able to do anything over a 2 block. That's not acceptable to people of the county. I mean,
Yeah.
we need to do a better job of getting it the heck out of there.
Yeah.
I see where you're coming from, but we got to keep pushing forward some kind of way to get this type things removed. I mean, that's sitting there on state bottom, just like you said, but
Yeah.
It's not a good sight.
Yeah, I went down there last week and looked at it. It's sitting on state bottom. It was up on private property. And it was, I would imagine the tides took it off and floated it off more than likely. Because it was abandoned up on riprap, so. But it could be, this could be utilized, but now we're in this, we have to be careful because we're in the salvage business. So.
Well,
Just-
excuse me, go ahead.
No, I was just going to add a little bit and extend some of Dave's remarks. One of my first questions when we heard about this initially is why the state didn't open it up to private property owners or adjoining private property owners that own the property and the boat's been abandoned on them, but it's still state waters below mean low water mark. And I think Dave addressed it. With the money comes responsibility. And the state, even though they're required by the code to govern this, we're going to try to dangle a little bit of money out to the localities. Correct me if I'm getting out of bounds there, Dave,
No,
and hoping that the localities snatched up that money because someone's complained loud enough. And then all of a sudden now we're responsible. And we've let them abdicate their role and responsibility over something that the Virginia Code says they're responsible to do. Now, I say that to context this. It's my understanding that recently in Gloucester, the localities and other entities finally compelled the state to bring a matter to court and require the property owner to remove the boat. In that case, they could find and locate the property owner because the serial numbers haven't been filed off or whatnot.
Mhm.
And they were successful. So that shows at least a move gradually in the right direction of the state fulfilling their responsibility and not abdicating their role.
Matt, do we know if VMRC has boarded that vessel and checked to see if there's any serial numbers, anything on that, so we could pursue those type of avenues you described?
I can only tell you what I've heard and that the serial numbers have been filed down. That's what I've heard.
Can we contact VMRC and ask them if they have personally gone aboard and verify that?
I could check with their, I guess it would be their enforcement division and find out, try to get an answer for you.
Please, yes, sir.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
And if the county takes over the responsibility that the state says they're not going to do anything with, does that not put us in a liability situation? And let's say it's some sort of contaminants on the boat. Once we accept that, we'll be responsible for any cleanup with that. Is that correct?
That would be correct. You'd have to obviously draft a RFP that would make the contractor responsible. But if there's an issue, these things can get expensive. If that oil comes out of that engine or something of that nature
Right.
and starts floating around, so the Coast Guard gets involved. DEQ and that type of thing. So, and this is a grant. There's no guarantees that you get this grant. You'd have to apply for the grant for it. And then you have to fulfill the terms of the grant, after you receive it. I'm not sure whether it's a prepayment or a post-payment. I think it might be an option for either one, and there are some options to get additional monies if you had overruns, but yes, to your answer to your question, yes, there's liability in doing this. You are now the responsible party for getting this vessel taken off state bottom in environmentally sound fashion,
So just to take up for the county a little bit, it's not so much the county's being non-responsive to property owners that see this grant and want the county to take the grant money and do the work. That benefits the private property owner, and we get that. It's, to me, it's not our responsibility. And if the board wants to make it such, well, we can apply for these funds and we can take that on ourselves. I would recommend against it, as I normally do, because there are reasons why the state and the Commonwealth of Virginia are responsible for state water bottoms. They have the staff and expertise. We don't. And I know there are a number of situations around the county where the private property owners are staring at a derelict boat and they really want the county to do something about it. I keep giving them the state's phone number and their delegate, because I don't see any I don't see any leeway in state code removing that agency from responsibility.
yeah,
But yet we got a grant so we could take it over from them. But
it doesn't make a lot of sense.
so apologize ahead of time if board members get complaints. If you want us to proceed down this route, we will, but I would recommend against it. I would recommend continuing to pressure the state to fulfill their obligations.
And instead of us going on that alone to continually contact the state, I think it would be behoove us to get together with some of the other counties and write one letter as a group to maybe give us a little more power to get their attention.
The grant funding is great, but they take somebody that.
They can have the grant and come get the boat up. It's about where we are, and I think if we come together and send a letter to the state, at least we're constantly doing more to try to alleviate the problem. That's what I'm saying.
And
thank you for everything you put into it. I don't mean any kind of
yes,
frustration towards
sir.
you. I
Yes,
appreciate
sir, I
everything you do.
understand. And the boat that Mr. Harris is talking about is no longer on private property. It is about 100 feet offshore on state bottom. So at one point it was on private property, and either the guy pushed it off or the tides probably, or we have some high tides that probably carried it off. So, and it is on state bottom. It's no longer floating. So it's not a removal, it's a salvage operation at this point.
Any other questions for Mr. Kretz? Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
You're always on top of your game, and I appreciate
Well,
that.
thank you, sir.
Thank you too. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Right. Let's see where we go. Looks like item F, county engineer update, Mr. Beam.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, in your packet, you have an update, pages 84 through 87. However, I do have some revisions and additions, mainly the HRSD project. I found out late last week that they will be bidding the remainder of the HRSD project, 4 main and 4 pumping stations, as one package. So that may alleviate the issue of contractors. However, it's going to be a major project. That's going to be the bulk of their project. Another update at Hummel Field. As you know, we are working with the state of Virginia, Department of Aviation, on getting a detailed ALP plan approved. And that would be on an 80-20 formula. And we have made the decision, let me rephrase that. The airport committee has made the decision to dedicate the east side of the airport for economic development, for EDA. So we're working very closely with EDA. We had a meeting last week with a potential opportunity There is a startup company that has gotten grant funding from the government, and they are looking to build a facility that has direct access to the water, which is basically our only selling point. The purpose of this facility is to build electric boat planes and commuter aircraft. So the R&D facility, they will be building scale models and using direct access to the water to fly and basically prove out their concept. However, they are looking at other airports. Now, none of them that they mentioned has direct access to water, but they may find something that was more palatable to them. The other thing is in Deltaville, I'm reviewing the phase 2 and 3 plans and should have comments back by the end of this week to Timmins. Oh, and I'm sorry, going back to Hummel Field, we have made the decision, let me rephrase that. The airport committee has made the decision to refurbish the existing fuel facility versus building new. And we've already talked with the Department of Aviation. They have no issues. They just want to see the plans. And again, that could potentially be on a 95-5 split. But we're probably looking at 80-20 again. The Puller building renovation, we had a pre-bid last Friday. We had 11 contractors show up. We have scheduled a date, I believe it's Friday, the 16th at 10 o'clock for all of their subcontractors to come and visit the site. And it's for one day only. That's it. Because Sheriff Bushy and myself, we can't be running back and forth opening the building for them every day. So that's scheduled for February 16th, Friday at 10 a.m. The county landfill, we're working on the closure plan. Armed Resources will have a representative here at the next board meeting in March to give a presentation on our progress there. And we're making good strides. I just got the quarterly reports. Everything is below detectable limits. So I'm pretty happy about that. And the last time I have is we've created a spreadsheet and a work order sheet. It's been distributed to all the managers. If there's any issues, problems, they fill that out. They'll send it directly to me. I'll review, prioritize, and then assign staff. I also have a log, a work order log in my office to where we keep track of all of this information. And again, it's to track it, when was it complete, and then the history of any issues that may come up as a result of that. And that's it. Ms. Emery, can you pull up the PowerPoint for sewer, please? And at that, my assistants, Mr. Turner and Ms. Jessica.
Hey, Charlie, while Ken
Yes, sir.
and Jessica are coming up, just a quick couple of questions. HRC's ETA now on the transmission main project that they're going to bid on, what? month? April of,
This year.
yeah, okay, that's when they're going to bid, but when is it going to be complete now?
Oh,
That's late.
January of 27.
January 2027. Very good.
Like I said, the pre-bid is this Friday. I don't know if it's mandatory or not, but
Right.
we'll get an idea of how many contractors show. My guess is they'll have the larger companies like Garney
Yeah.
and Industrial out of Richmond. So that may alleviate our issue with contractors for Topping and Saluda.
Yeah, roger that. One other quick thing, the airport refurbishment of the pump island,
Yes, sir.
are we looking to try to do that next fiscal year?
Actually, we're hoping to do it this year.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, very good. Thank you.
Any other questions with regards to Hummel Field, Puller Building, landfill?
I got one question for the Puller
Yes, sir.
building. Have the stats gone out for the bid for that? My understanding is the bid's supposed to come in
March 22nd.
March 22nd.
Yes, sir. The bids are on the street.
So everything's on the street
Yes, sir.
regarding that?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And one other thing that I wanted to mention, we had done some preliminary work on what we were calling the advanced sewer system for Puller to tie in the animal shelter. We got a pricing from HRSD's contractor, and it was based on pricing, their unit pricing for that project. And in going through their numbers, I realized they were bidding 24 deep 24-foot deep manholes. It's like, no, we're going 8 feet. So basically what I've done is I put that on hold pending receiving bids from the contractors for the Puller building. And I'm going to compare those costs and make a decision there.
Sounds like a good idea. Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Timmons Group.
This is Mr. Ken Turner and Miss Jessica from Timmons. They were going to give you an update really very quickly on the HRSD project, or not HRSD, the county projects. I'm sorry.
Thanks. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, thank you for this opportunity to make a presentation on an update to the sewer system. With me today, I've got Jessica with our firm. You want to introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is Jessica Kwiatkowski. I'm a senior project manager with Timmons. I'm assisting Ken with the design, and I'll be speaking to the financial slides.
We have several other staff members at the firm working on this project as well. This graphic up here, many of you have seen some of this material before, so it will be a little bit redundant. And the purpose of this is for the benefit of the new members and to provide updates to the rest of the board members and county staff here today. This graphic shows the alignment of the water main that was installed. That's shown on this graphic in blue. Up there at the top right, the green portion is a gravity sewer extending from Grays Point Campground to the pump station site. The portion in yellow or orange is the portion of the force main that the county is going to install in conjunction with the county project. And then the red portion all the way down to General Puller Highway is what HRSD is going to install in conjunction with their project. We have a layout of the site plan for the pump station. It's coming off of Grace Point Road. It's set back on county property. The setback from the edge of the pavement is about 60 feet. The right of way there is quite wide, and we didn't want to locate the assets that are going to be turned over to HRSD within the VDOT right of way. So this is going to be on county property that the county will donate to HRSD. It's approximately a 100 by 100 foot area. So the site includes a valve vault, a metering vault, and then the actual pump station itself. There will be a small building located on site to house the controls and a restroom facility for HRSD staff when they come out on a regular basis to maintain the pump station site. This next slide gives you an update on the phase 1 project and topping. We have completed a radio path study that's necessary for determining the alignment and the height of the antenna that will communicate with HRSD's radio telemetry system and convey information to their SCADA system on pump operation and flows. With respect to the design of topping, we're 90% complete with the design, and we've completed the radio surveys for the topping pump station, as well as the Deltaville pump station site. We've also completed a meeting with Department of Historic Resources. As you may recall, we received a letter from DHR that requested that we do shovel tests every 50 feet along the entire alignment of the topping force main, which we thought was excessive. So we sent them some documentation, several requests for relief on that. And we had a meeting with them about a week ago and explained to them our logic, and they have agreed to significantly reduce the number of shovel tests that are required there. So we're only going to do that at existing archaeological sites. So we've been able to eliminate approximately 85% of the shovel tests along the alignment, which is going to be beneficial to the cost associated with that effort. Additional discussion items. The force main extension up to the shopping center has been requested by the county. So we have another extension of the system going up towards the shopping center to the Pig and Pie restaurant, I believe, or there's a customer that has requested that extension. We've completed the project manual. We've submitted that to the county engineer and HRSD, and Ms. Lewis has provided his comments. We've incorporated those revisions. The 90% design is completed and submitted to the county. HRSD, as Charlie indicated, that's going to be advertised here shortly, and that's going to be the lion's share of the sewer system deployment within the county. And then the project that we're working on will be to connect the Grace Point Campground and some other customers to the HRSD portion of the project. As mentioned, we met with DHR. We've received comments from the Corps of Engineers that they are not going to exert jurisdiction over the Corps permit for crossing the wetlands directly adjacent to the pump station. So we only need to get approval from the Virginia Marine Resources Commission. We expect to get that permit within about 60 to 90 days. That was submitted several months ago. We've made a site plan submission to the county, and that's being reviewed. And we're getting close to easement acquisition. We've identified a couple areas where we need easement acquisition, and we've been working with Heather on that. Again, this is a copy of the letter that we received from DHR that I mentioned, and this is the official notification where they told us that they wanted to do shovel test every 50 feet that we got relief on. In conjunction with the archaeological investigation, we have a cost from our archaeologists to complete this work. James River Institute of Archaeology will perform the shovel tests in accordance with a revised monitoring plan that they're going to develop. The 50-foot interval is not going to be required, but we will have to do periodic shovel tests in accordance with the plan that we're developing. And then we'll have to do an investigation at the pump station site to confirm if there are any archaeological features there. If they have a positive shovel test and they have to do additional investigations around that site, any artifacts that are recovered will be turned over to the property owners after they've been cataloged and cleaned up.
Yeah, if I may, also the location routing of the gravity line from the campground.
Correct. The report development and final delivery will be submitted to DHR and other regulatory agencies for their review. And one ask I will make of you all today at the conclusion of this presentation is to approve the cost. Well, no, you approved that last time. We just need to get, we need to get the purchase order from the county.
Yeah, I think they approved the cost for the archaeological several months ago, and then we put the brakes on it to see if we can get a better deal.
Yeah. Okay.
So now that we've got a better deal, it's already kind of pre-approved for that amount.
Yeah.
It should be substantially less.
So once we get approval from DHR, we'll get you a right price for that. Next slide. So some of the other projects, Deltaville, we've completed the field survey. We processed all of the field data. We're moving forward with the design for phase 1. And we revised the hydraulic model to include some additional growth in phase 1. The survey work has been completed. We've submitted 30% plans, and Hartfield, the PER has been completed and submitted to the county for their review. And with that, I'll turn it over to Jess to talk about some of the costs associated with this project.
Thanks, Ken. This first slide is a summary table that shows the detailed costs for the design and construction of the 4 service areas topping Hartfield, Saluda, and Deltaville. The total project cost is around $42 million. This also includes 1,000 grinder pumps that the county would purchase ahead of time. And let me know if you want me to talk about the details, but this is basically just a summary that includes like the preliminary engineering reports, the detailed design, the environmental, easement acquisitions, construction costs. And the county also making a contribution to the Hartfield pump station. That's $330,000. This slide is a summary of all the funding applications that were made, totaling $60 million. Predominantly, that comes from loans from DEQ, from the Clean Water Revolving Loan Fund. But also we made applications into DEQ for the ARPA grant funding. The next slide, this slide shows the grants and loans that were actually received, which is approximately $21 million so far. Again, that includes DEQ loans from the Clean Water Revolving Loan Fund, as well as an $800,000 grant for Saluda from ARPA and $750,000 countywide from ARPA as well. Just wanted to note that the ARPA funding must be obligated by December 31st, 2024, and the county has until December 31st, 2026 to fully spend all that money. And this last slide just summarizes the total costs, the loans, the grants, and also includes some revenue, the revenue from the expected connection fees, which is about $11 million total. So if you look at the total project costs of 36 million, you have 19 million coming from loans, 1.5 million coming from grants, and almost 11 million coming from connection fees. Now, that does assume that all of the connections that we are designing for are connecting. For topping, there is a balance. I was going to say, like, sure. For topping, there's a balance of almost $1.2 million. Hartfield, there's a balance of 69. Saluda, there's actually you gain money from the connection fees and the loans of 2.4 million. Deltaville is almost 2 million, and then the county-wide is 3.5 million. And that again is from the purchase of the grinder pumps. And that's the last of the financial slides. So if you have any questions.
Saying revenue from expected connection fees. Can you break that down? Just how many connections you're talking to get,
Yeah.
say in Saluda, and almost $2 million for the connection?
Sure. So each connection, we assumed $12,000 for a connection fee. For Deltaville, there's approximately 690 connections. Saluda is 162. Hartfield is 28. And topping, we're just talking about phase one, which is 772 campsites and the pig and pie.
So each one of those campsites is going to be considered. a
No,
connection, just
actually,
like
for
home.
that one, we assumed, I think it was 72,000 for. Yeah, for a 3-inch meter, that was 72,000 plus 12,000 for the pig and pie. And maybe like, there's a couple other commercial properties in that pig and pie complex that we assumed would connect as well. That doesn't include additional 223 connections. That's part of phases 2 to 4. That's not included in that 84,000.
Thank you.
And with that, we'll open it up to any questions.
Mr. Chairman, I have one for clarification, please.
Sure.
So going back to the archaeological study, Ken, I saw the number was 31,671. Is that the new cost for the reduced scope of work that we'll need?
That is the original cost that we requested, and we've asked for a revised cost from the archaeologist, but we want to get approval for this amount, and the actual purchase order will be less than that. But we haven't gotten the price from the archaeologist yet. We just had the meeting with DHR last week.
Okay, that's, I apologize. I thought you were saying that was the new reduced and I was like, oh, okay.
It'll be less than that.
Okay, that's always good news.
Yeah.
One time I thought I saw some documentation. We're looking at $10,000 for connection fees now. But heard correctly, you're saying it's up to 12?
I believe the board approved the connection fee per single family house of $12,000.
Okay. Thank you.
The connection fee for the campground will be based on a 3-inch meter.
Yeah.
I believe that was also adopted by the county at $72,000.
Ken, just real quick, to clarify, the typical residential customer is $10,000 connection, not 12.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
That's okay. It's been a couple months. Sure. And if I may,
That may adjust these numbers you put up there then.
Yeah.
Quite
I think the
significantly.
numbers were based on 10,000.
Punched in 12. Pretty close.
Okay.
It was recommended 12,000 to the board. I think they decided 10,000. Follow the water authority line.
Well,
apologize for that mistake.
and that's if the board doesn't choose to have an incentive connection type
I
system.
just think that these figures need to be revised on 10,000 if they
Yeah, I
use
agree.
12.
And I have one quick clarification for you, Ken. I think you may have misspoke. The proposed topping force main that's in red, that is the force main that leaves the pump station to pump into the transmission main to York County. We're required to build a portion of that, I think down to roughly this
Parsons Lane.
part right here.
I thought the county's portion was to Parsons Lane, and that's the.
No, this is the topping.
Oh, this is topping.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah. And then we turn it over to HRSD for maintenance. Yeah, just want to make sure because I heard you say HRSD was going to build that and I was getting ready to have a party,
I'm sorry.
but I don't want that. No, that would be great if they were, but no. Yeah, the Deltaville Force Main is the one in Parsons.
So to
Thank
be clear, force main from the pump station all the way up to General Puller is scheduled for Middlesex to be paying for.
That's correct.
And do you take it that's the sewer line that Middlesex is going to continue to own down there in that area?
The portion that Middlesex will own is going to be the gravity line from the campground to the pump station, and then the yellow line up to the Pig and Pie.
Is that yellow line force main or gravity as well?
Force main.
The yellow is a low pressure force main. The green is gravity.
What's the depth of that force main average, roughly?
Depending on existing utilities, 3 to 6 feet.
Any further questions for the Timmons Group? Thank you both for being here today. Thank you, Ken.
Yep, thank you for your time.
Appreciate it.
Mr. Chairman, I did have one thing. It's not a question, it's more a statement. Jessica mentioned this, that we have till December 2026 to expend our grant funds for ARPA for Saluda. So Saluda in many ways has become a priority to get the engineering and design done and get that out on the street. So hopefully we can get as much of that done before December 2026.
I thought you said we have to have it earmarked by 2024. Yeah.
So we got 2 years after that. Yep. And that's going to put us in a tight little window because as Charlie said, HRSD is going out to bid with their mega project. And in many ways, we're going to be trying to find some contractors that want to bid our smaller one parallel to that. So we can get it done and built before December 2026, or at least the bulk of those grant funds expended by them. That's all I have.
Yep.
Thank y'all for coming. All right, Wayne, would you catch your lights again? Thank you. Okay, item number H, Middlesex Volunteer Fire Department, Ben Langford.
Oh, here we go. My name is Ben. I'm president of the Middlesex Volunteer Fire Department. I'm here in front of y'all today. I have a letter that I had Miss Lewis look at, draft up for a loan that we are looking to get from a bank to finance a new truck that our department is currently looking at getting. I do have a letter here in my hand. I don't know if y'all have one that they've seen. But right now, we have to provide this letter to the bank with per the IRS guidelines for a tax exempt loan for our department that we're going to get. The county will have no financial impact whatsoever in this loan, and the county attorney Heather has reviewed this drafted letter as well. So I'm asking for your consideration to approve this drafted letter in y'all's board package for Mr. Walker to sign.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, in addition to what Mr. Langford has said, this was something David Lehman and I had discussed and we're not as familiar with. It is required. It's the type of finance that the department is choosing to do. There's nothing wrong with what they're doing. It's just, this is a nuance that Mr. Lehman in his lengthy career had not seen. And I was unfamiliar with it as well from the perspective of a third party that we have no control over, which is the fire department and their purchasing. But I did reach out to our bond counsel and go over this at length with them. And I did speak to the bank, Mr. Fink. He was really nice to work with. So I am comfortable, and I've revised this letter with our bond counsel, sent it to the bank for their approval as well that the department's using. And so the bank, the fire department needs this letter. The bank basically checks it off. It's an IRS requirement in order for them to move forward. I mean, they have other components. This is just one of many on their checklist. But I'm happy to answer any questions, but I did want to let you know that bond counsel is a very specialized area, so I immediately reached out to ours and brought them in on this as well.
Any questions? If I understand correctly, and I think we've talked about it several times, the county is not encumbered on any part of the loan.
Correct. Yes, y'all are not. This approval does not in any way constitute any financial involvement, liability, or obligation of the municipality, which is Middlesex County.
Okay. I would think a motion would be in order for us to sign this agreement so the fire department can move forward with their purchase.
So moved.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Mr. Williams has made the motion and Bill Harris has seconded. With that, let's have any other discussion? If not, roll call.
Mr. Jesse,
I have to abstain because I'm a member of the.
Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Bill Harris,
Yes.
Mr. Crittenden,
Yes.
Mr. Don Harris.
Yes, motion approved and carried.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for being here.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, you don't need my signature? Great. Okay, moving right ahead, item number 5, regular agenda items, citizens appointments. Ms. Riccardi, you got something for us?
I do. In your packet, we had absolutely nothing this week. We had no, or this month, we had no applicants. However, I was notified on Friday after the agenda had been put out, right about then, that Mr. Russ Perkinson had indeed submitted an application and it had gotten caught within our computer system. Although I suggested that if we could withhold it till the next meeting, he said, fine. But after review, it was requested, why don't we just go ahead and put it on this? Let you all discuss Mr. Russ Perkinson to be added as a planning commission member representing, hold on, Harmony Village District, because people are beating down the doors for this, but perhaps you want to either consider or at least discuss this one this afternoon. Other than that, I don't have any others.
Okay, any questions regarding the appointment of Mr. Perkins?
I think he's come before the board and spoken or whatever. I think
He
he's
has.
engaged in what's going
He
on.
has.
I'd be a good candidate.
If no further discussion, a motion would be in order to approve Mr. Perkins for the Harmony Village vacancy for the planning commission.
So.
My district.
I'm sorry.
Okay, Mr. Williams.
I'll second the motion.
Mr. Williams has approved the motion and Bill Harris has seconded the motion. Any further discussion? If not, roll call, please.
Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Bill Harris,
Yes.
Mr. Crittenden,
Yes.
Mr. Jesse,
Yes.
Mr. Don Harris.
Yes, motion's approved. Okay. I'm not sure who's championed this, but I'm assuming maybe you,
Which one?
Miss-
I'm next?
Ms. Riccardi.
Yep, VIPSA Disposal Service Agreement is my next agenda item. You ready for me there?
I am.
Okay. The agreement presented before you right now is between Middlesex County and VIPSA, and specifically is to provide for disposal of materials from the convenience centers and the transfer sites. We do this probably, I guess, every 4 years because the previous agreement expires June 2024. The VIPSA approved this agreement along with agreements for the 2 agencies with whom we dispose these products, which would be Waste Management and BFI. So VIPSA takes care of the big portion of that, and we just contract subsequently with VIPSA to handle the disposal of waste. Landfill disposal cost, that is this particular portion of the contract, costs about $202,000 per year, while the total VIPSA services, everything they provide is going to be about $950,000 next year. But this particular contract, fully budgeted, it is budgeted now, is about $200,000, $202,000 per year. And of course, we request your approval so that we continue to dispose of solid waste within the community.
Quick question. Have they designated a particular term when they're gonna shut down the facility in off of Stormont and or any others?
We are not shutting any of our convenience centers. We've never discussed shutting down any of our
Okay,
convenience centers. You are,
I thought I'd heard that they were contemplating closing that at some point.
if they were, that we've not, I've been the board representative to VIPSA, so I attend almost every meeting. I think I missed the last one because I had a conflict here, but I've attended every one and we've never discussed closing any of our convenience centers. Because again, we do pay for the operations of that. And as long as we're continuing to pay for it, they're going to keep it open.
Okay, thank you. That must have been one of my dreams one night that I had heard that. So moving forward, any other discussion or questions for Ms. Riccardi? If not, a motion would be in order.
I'll make a motion that we approve the disposal service agreement contract.
Correct.
Second.
Okay, we have motion made to continue the service agreement by Mr. Jesse and a second by Mr. Crittenden. And I apologize, I didn't look, is that something we do every year, the renewal of that contract?
No, we should be every 4 years,
Okay,
4 years or 5 years. This one has 2 years plus 2 renewal years.
okay, wonderful. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Bill Harris,
Yes.
Mr. Crittenden,
Yes.
Mr. Jesse,
Yes.
Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Don Harris.
Yes, motion's approved.
And I do need to clarify, although it's 2 years, it's got 2 additional 2-year terms. So we generally just continue this process because it's hard to get people to collect our waste.
Thank you, Mr. Cardi. I would.
All righty, the next item. Say that. Okay, I know it's me. The Middlesex County Kiwanis requested that Middlesex County purchase a table at the annual Mardi Gras fundraiser. The request has been approved in the past. I went back as far back as 2020. We did it in 2020, 2022, 2023. 2021 was canceled due to COVID. And the carnival level table is $750, while the Mardi Gras level table is $1,000. Both tables seat 8. The event is scheduled for Saturday, February 24th from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. at the Bethpage Resort. Funds raised from this particular event, of course, help the children in the community. And like I said, I think that the Kiwanis is very grateful for the community support.
Yeah, I would just like to say, what table did we get in the prior years?
You brought the base level table, I believe.
What?
Last year was the base level table, to the best of my knowledge. Well, yeah, it was the base level table. I don't know what you did years prior. Wasn't able to get the documentation on that.
I was just basically fine with me.
And that's a seating of 8, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And is there any difference in the seating level from 750 to 1,000?
No, the 1,000 level table includes a name in the flyer. It includes an enhanced beverage package, and I think it includes little glasses that say Mardi Gras or something. So that's type of enhancement. Again, the biggest deal is more money towards the children in the community. And should I disclose? I have to disclose, as I'm bragging on this, y'all do need to know I'm a Kiwanian. So I do brag on this, but I wasn't before. So I do want you all to know I do brag on Kiwanis, but I am one.
Wonderful. Kiwanis does a lot of things for the county, and I think we would be well to continue to support that. With that, your motion that you're looking for is for a
Request to purchase the table, either the $750 or the $1,000 table, up to you all.
okay. Any discussions or questions on that? Okay, a motion would be in order to have a table, and you can designate it to 750 or whatever else.
I guess y'all wait for me to make the motion.
We are waiting for you.
All right. Let's get the Mardi Gras table.
Okay,
That's what I request.
do we need to signify the amount?
Table is sufficient.
Okay,
Right.
that's a 750 level.
Nope, that's a good table.
That's a good tape.
That's the,
That's a
that's the
good
prime,
thing.
that's the prime sponsorship level. That's the level of sponsorship.
And the
So,
county will be on the program for that, listed on that?
yes.
Okay, a motion's been made by Mr. Jesse,
Second.
second by, any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Crittenden,
Aye.
Mr. Jesse,
Aye.
Mr. Williams, Mr. Bill Harris,
Yes.
Mr. Don Harris.
Yes. Motion's carried. What else you got, Ms. Ricardi?
Thank you. I don't see my backup in here for the next item. The next item, they had asked for me to present this, apparently, approval of a budget amendment in the amount of nearly $9,665, because back in 2021, a payment was never made to VCE for extension services. As you know, that's our the Cooperative Extension Service, or as we all know, Frank Long. Apparently, back 2 years ago, they never billed us. If you don't bill us, we don't pay you. That's just the way it happens. But unfortunately, they had so much turnover at their administrative level that those bills got missed. Now, I would say that had we caught that, we probably would have called and said, you haven't billed us, but who would we have called because of the turnover? So anyway, they accepted full responsibility, as you can see by their memo included in this. But they have asked that we do pay their past invoices of $9,664.76. And we can certainly transfer that from contingency to extension services if the board wishes to make that change.
Questions or discussion?
And might I say that we do have a good relationship with them, and that is not like them not to do billing. So I was uncomfortable bringing this forth, but by the same token, they're right. If they did the services, they would like to be paid for those services.
Well, we might have
You know,
to wait for Wayne to get back. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'll wait till Wayne get back to, that was in 21, and that was during COVID. So a lot of people weren't doing a lot of things during that time. I don't know. Did they give us a reason? You said the reason was they had turnovers and they didn't know that they didn't bill us.
What? VCE Middlesex apologizes for this lack of fiscal management, is what it says. Due to high employee turnover, the units redistricting from the southeast to the northeast district and constant unit administrative assistant changeover caused the lapse in maintaining the invoices.
That don't sound right to me.
Like someone's off of COVID.
Well, actually, no, this would have been after COVID. So, yeah, it was, if you see the bills, they even included bills. So it started October 21. So I guess it was during COVID. You're right. Yeah. Yes, sir, you're right.
And I have a question as well. So we didn't pay for what, 21 and 22? Are we up current for
Yes.
23?
Oh, yes, sir. Oh, yes, sir. We've been paying ever since. So I think and again, that's why this caught me off guard, because it went so far back, because they're asking for the most recent one was September 22, March 20. So they're going back as far as September 2022.
Okay, not to create any hard feelings, but as the head of the financial department, how does that pertain to, they've already closed their books and we've already closed ours? Do we have any legal jeopardy on that?
Generally, and this is my history in billing, utility billing, we would allow ourselves to go back as far as 4 years. So if we'd missed a bill, we would go back as far as 4 years. So does that make a difference? It probably doesn't. They provided a level of service. Just because we closed the year should not negate the fact that they feel we owe them money. So I believe if this is if we legitimately receive the service, which is our arrangement with the cooperative extension services, if we legitimate receive the services, then we legitimately owe them the money. And we know Frank Long has been here, so.
Yeah. And we feel confident we received those services during that time of COVID.
It was after the COVID, but yes, he has been here providing the levels of service, yes.
Further discussion?
Yeah, I think it says on here, FY 22, second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter, and then first quarter of FY 23.
Right.
So that, I think that's a little post-COVID. My feeling is if we,
It'd be in order to have a motion to that effect.
so moved.
Mr. Crittenden has made the motion to get our bill up to speed with them. Second, no further action, the motion dies. We should.
That would be changes to the travel policy. Okay, the next item, this agenda item is I'm requesting an approval and a change in the personnel policy specifically related to employee travel allowance for meals and functions. Specifically, our current personnel policy, as you can see, allows that an employee traveling on county business gets up to $30 per day for documented meal expenses. Basically, period. That's it. That particular information, the very first travel policy that I ever wrote some 30 years ago was about $30. So this particular, I actually researched this. The U.S. General Services Administration has not used the 30-day per day allowance since 20 years ago, 2002. The USA GSA, the Government Services Agency, reviews and adjusts the meal allowance on a regular basis. The current standard rate, which applies for all locations that are not considered high rate cities, is $59. I'm recommending that we revise our travel policy. And this is really for fairness to the employees who are traveling on behalf of the government so that they can be fed fairly and equitably. Anyway, that we basically use the GSA. We tie our current rate to the GSA rate, which is currently $59. I furthermore indicate that you don't get it basically for every day you travel, but for breakfast, you have to leave at a certain time, lunch at a certain time, dinner. So you would be prorated instead of getting the full amount just because you're gone for the day. In addition, I clarify that when your conference includes a meal, that we would deduct that from your 30-day allowance. So for example, we go to a conference and the lunch is included, you would remove the lunch at $15 and you only get $44 allowance for that day. Let's see. This is not expected to have a significant financial impact because the county does not send many people, but the people that we do send are unfortunately sometimes the ones who are least able to afford eating in Richmond, eating in Washington, D.C., eating in Virginia Beach. And for example, if you send a police officer or a law enforcement officer to Virginia Beach on $30, they're not going to be able to eat. There's just not enough. They'd be eating at McDonald's while their cohorts and the rest of their business partners are eating other places. Have I said enough on this? Does you have any? I feel like I've rambled a bit on this, but I felt very strongly about this one. I felt strongly about this one since I came here. This doesn't affect me because I'm a board member and most of my meals would be covered when I travel. So for my particular agencies, but anyway, this is important to me.
So what you're asking is to move the travel policy, particular food expense from 30 to 59. Is that correct?
To 59 now, but it would adjust with the GSA's allowance. So it would be tied to a benchmark. Much like you do for, when you do travel allowance that's based on mileage, we use the IRS allowance for that. So it's along that line, it's the IRS type allowance for food.
Okay, a motion would be in order to make that change.
I'll make that motion.
Mr. Jesse has made the motion to adjust the travel policy. Is there a second?
I second it.
Second by Bill Harris. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Bill Harris,
Yes.
Mr. Crittenden,
Yes.
Mr. Jesse,
Yes.
Mr. Don Harris.
Yes, motion's approved.
Thank you. Not done with me yet.
Well, I was gonna ask because either something's out of line here on my agenda sheet. Have a budget supplement request
That was specifically related to item D,
for,
the
yes,
co-op. So,
okay,
yeah.
got you.
So I'm not gonna ask that one if that's okay.
We're back on schedule. Item G, surplus vehicles, gov deals, and you're still on the hot seat.
Yes, sir. The sheriff's department turned over 3 Chevy Caprices a couple weeks ago to be sold at auction. Of them, 2 are operational with, one's got 113,000, one's got 173,000 miles, but the third one needs a new motor, but we still can sell it off gov deals for, there is still an opportunity for someone to pay for it. Lots of people like those bodies. Anyway, at this point, all we're asking for is the board to declare those vehicles surplus and authorize staff to dispose of these vehicles.
Questions?
I take it the money from them goes back in the general fund.
The money goes back into the general fund. Yes, sir.
I just have one question, and I know you can answer it. 2 of these vehicles, the Chevy Caprices, are at 161,000 miles, 173,000 miles. I was just curious why the 2014 Chevy Caprice is on this list at 113,000 miles.
That I'm not sure, except that the department declares them surplus. It could be its driving ability. It may be driving hard. Like I said, then I know that the 163,000 doesn't have a motor. So these are not going to be their top of the line vehicles. If they were any good, they would be keeping them.
Huh?
Well, these have not been driven. So these have already been replaced. We just got the Durangos.
Oh, okay. Okay.
It's not necessarily the miles, it's the hours on the engine too. If they're sitting and idling and they got engine hours, that will add to it.
All right.
So at this time, we'd like you to declare them surplus and authorize staff to dispose.
Motion would be in order.
I'll make a motion that we surplus the vehicle to gov deals.
And a second.
I second it.
Any other discussion? If not, roll call.
Mr. Bill Harris,
Yes.
Mr. Crittenden,
Yes.
Mr. Jesse,
Yes.
Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Don Harris.
Yes. Motion's carried. All right. Not sure who is, or we have reports for item A under administrative updates, cigarette tax. We also have administrative updates of staff report only to 112 through 119. I assume I can do all these at once, correct?
They're reports only. I just
Right.
have 2 items under county administrator updates, Mr. Chairman.
Okay,
the-
please continue.
Yeah, the first one's item C, and that is a proposed revision to the budget calendar. This just solidifies what the board's already pretty much agreed to do in work session. Whereas we established the Tuesday, February 20th, 2024 meeting with the school board. It's a joint meeting with the school board to discuss the high school renovations. I've had conversations with the superintendent, and she would propose that we hold that at 6 p.m. at the high school media center. I'm asking that y'all amend the budget calendar to show that, and then we can get that to the media and get that established.
And that's on what day? What, Tracy?
Tuesday, Tuesday the 20th, first day back from President's Day weekend.
I already have it on my agenda at 6 o'clock.
Yep. Y'all discussed it in work session. This just kind of approves it on the budget calendar.
A motion be in order to change the calendar to absorb that particular meeting with the school board and the board of supervisors.
So moved.
Second it.
Bill Harris made the motion and seconded by Mr. Jesse. Any further discussion? Roll call. Please.
Mr. Crittenden,
Yes.
Mr. Jesse,
Yes.
Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Bill Harris.
Yes.
Mr. Don Harris.
Yes. Motion's approved.
Second thing I have, Mr. Chairman, we received from Linda Hodges late last week. It's a resolution regarding their request to change the name of the Middle Peninsula Northern Neck Community Services Board to the Middle Peninsula Northern Neck Behavioral Health. Being that we are co-members of this entity with Essex, Gloucester, King and Queen, King William, Lancaster, Matthews, Middlesex, of course, Northumberland, Richmond County, and Westmoreland County. In order for them to change the name of the organization, they need all host members to ratify the resolution allowing the change. Based on my review, we have until April 1st, 2024 to approve this resolution. You could do so tonight, or you can punt it to next month, but I wanted to make sure you got it in hand tonight. It's just a resolution allowing them to change the name of the organization. And if y'all don't have any concerns, I just recommend you take care of it tonight. It's one less thing to do.
Were you provided any information on her feel that the other counties would fall in line with
I
that?
have no doubt the other counties are going to approve the request.
Okay. Then in that case, it would be a motion in order for us to move forward and approve that or not approve it at this point.
So moved.
Motion's made by Mr. Crittenden, and we need a second
Second.
on that. Second by Mr. Bill Harris. Any other discussion?
Mr. Chair, I got a discussion.
Sure.
Suppose we don't do it, what's gonna happen?
They're going to have a longer name for a while longer.
They're gonna come talk to you.
They mentioned this, I believe, during a work session or at a meeting. They felt that the name change was in order because it better tells the public what they do, behavioral health. And
All right, I'm good.
Any other discussion? Ms. Hammond, would you give us a roll call, please?
Sure.
Mr. Jesse,
Aye.
Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Bill Harris,
Yes.
Mr. Crittenden,
aye,
Mr. Don Harris.
Aye. Motion's carried.
would be kind of funny if we were the only county that to go with it. That's all I had, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, moving right along. Item number 8, unfinished and new business. Or unfinished and new business, and we're going to talk about unfinished business. Mr. Administrator, do you have anything on for that? County Attorney, do you have anything on that?
Well, for county attorney update, I'm gonna say no. That's okay. I don't have anything.
I just realized that, we
I'm
started in that
putting
this
it down for
morning,
the
so.
record. It's been no, no, sir, nothing outside of my staff report at this time. Thank you.
Okay, I apologize for that.
It's totally fine.
Okay, you should have jumped in.
If I had something critical, I would have.
I know you. Okay, moving right along then. New business to discuss. Any board members have anything you'd like to talk about, and or county administrator and or county attorney? Everybody's good? All right. Matters presented by the board. Discussion?
I'll start it off again. We also, in Middlesex High School yearbook, we normally get a full page. And we got some information from that, and I just wanted to know if the board still wanna buy a full page for the yearbook. And what was Matt, do you explain that fine
Yeah.
on that?
We've done it every year, and I believe the amount this year is $325 for a full page color. And well, that's what we've done in the past, is my understanding.
Does any board member have any, we don't have to have that.
I mean, I'm fine with consensus, but I
Consensus,
don't
we
know
good?
about this one here.
Oh,
She may want to.
Is there
What do you think?
consensus?
I'd like to make a motion on that.
We usually pull it from Board of Supervisors miscellaneous, so the money's in the budget. We do it every year.
Okay,
I'd like to make that motion.
motion made by Mr. Jesse to continue the advertisement in the high school yearbook. Thank you very much.
Second,
Second by Bill Harris. Any other discussion?
I would just ask Anne Marie to take a look at the message the board sends in that advertisement or that full page, because I don't think we've reviewed that for years. Probably be good to say something congratulatory, but maybe different. She's pretty good at that stuff.
I'll be happy to look at it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
They did not notify me. Usually they send me the request. So,
They notified me 5 minutes before the meeting.
oh, okay.
No further discussion. Ms. Hammond, would you give us a roll call, please?
Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Bill Harris,
yes.
Mr. Crittenden,
Yes.
Mr. Jesse,
Yes.
Mr. Don Harris.
Yes.
Can
Motion
I
carried.
ask who
Yep.
did the second? Real quick,
Um,
do you remember? Okay.
motion carried.
And also, I did attend the Mr. Planning District. I know Keith Hodges did get the billing with about the blue catfish. He did put that on, I think it's House Bill 1664. And also there was another, they discussed the House Bill about solar farms. I think it's House Bill 1675 to let the counties negotiate, about energy and solar farm. And what else did we do? We discussed quite a few things. I know I mentioned before, we talked about a dredge that funds were there, that the Middle Peninsula would be in this area to go from county to county. But somehow, I guess with the change in the House and Senate, that money got kind of like held up. So right now, I think it's on hold for right now with that. Isn't that right, Matt?
That's my understanding. They're trying to work it out with the new delegates. But it is still on hold.
And I did attend the sports complex. You can take care of that one. I'll let you take care of that one. That's it for my committee reports.
Okay.
Just as a note, a couple times here, we've heard about catfish. And in reviewing the comprehensive plan, they mention all kinds of fish that we have here, but not catfish is not mentioned in it. So when we update the comprehensive plan, we want to add catfish. Just on a light note.
Mr. Crittenden, you have anything you'd like to say?
No, sir.
Oh, well, good. Mr. Bill Harris?
I'm fine.
Okay. Mr. Williams?
I was in that planning commission with Mr. Jesse. And they been talking about the last year, we talking about the trouble Broad Creek have and all this. And it seemed like everybody been flat faced it. When they started talking about it, even come up today to talk about it. See, it seems to me, the way I heard the thing is that we got the money, but the money was put in the wrong place. And the place they put the money at, they won't give it back. So that, I find that very interesting. when things like that can happen. And that's the way I received it. You had the money because we was talking about the project. Louis was talking about the project. Oh, it was a go. But when it comes for the money to put it in, I gave it to Bill instead of to Wayne. And all of a sudden, you don't get the money back. Now you use the word that we done changed from Republican to Democrat or independent or whatever they got. Then that's a reason we're not gonna get it back. The reason somebody make a mistake. And they don't want to back off the mistake of what they do. And my thing is say new business, we can mess up. And I'm gonna say this very clearly, we can make a wrong decision. And we can come to a point that we don't want to change our mind. And I can guarantee you that we're gonna make a wrong decision for this year out. And that's how I look at it. We gotta be big enough to say, I made a mistake. I think we should have done something else. Because 10 years from now, don't say it. And if we feel we want to do something that we feel is right, be strong about it. You know, because everybody's listening and sometimes we won't say anything and we let it go through. Also at the airport committee meeting, and more things come out all the time, but we don't really know about it. But the taxiway, you know, and you see, you know, that came out in the meeting we have, and you got negotiation and stuff on that. We hear about development, and the third hand gets it, and the third hand might not get the truth. So as being, you know, administrators of the county, we got to be pretty consistent. And all of us know the only other thing came out was the dollar store. I don't know how it flew out so quick, but everybody's saying in my district, I said a lady called the other day and asked me what I thought about it. You know, I didn't answer that question, but come to find out, I actually have she been visiting any, and she told me, you know, at a particular time, she just left the store from down the county, but I don't like it. What we're gonna do with another one. And I find it very interesting. When we gone in a lot of debt this year, auditors can tell us all we want us to know. But things are simple, they're not complicated. We are going in a lot of debt, probably for the year or the next 2 years. We want to take care of some things. This may Broad Creek, evidently I don't know that much about it, but I know it's an issue and we got to take care of it. And every time I sit here, when they tell me that, well, I got to go through this thing and I got to go through that thing. And I'm going to use it just like this. When we got that runway put in the airport, they told us it's going to take 10 years. It did in roughly 18 months, something like that or less. So when we pursue something, we can play like I heard from another fella. Put Mill 6 first, you want to put them on the back burner and let them wait. It was a good decision because Broad Creek and even, you know, the ramp down at Wakes, we know we want to get it fixed. But I'm not going to wait because I don't trust us enough to make the right decision. So I'm going to wait and bring it to y'all instead of taking a little risk. Life is a little bit of risk. So I would hope that they have confidence in this board, regardless of what level you are. Have enough confidence in the board that we will do the right thing and take a chance now and then. Because if you're right, truth is going to show up and you're going to get the support that you need. And evidently, everybody in the world think we got deep pockets, John. I mean, Don. Yeah. You think we got deep pockets, but I got a hole in mine, so I don't like going red. But that's just about it. I just like to see things move a little quicker. And I just hope for, you know, that the county and the Board of Supervisors, because gang, I look at it after 4 years. This is how I look at it. All we are housekeepers for the taxpayers of Middlesex County. And once we get beyond that, we're in the wrong place. As long as we can remember that, an old saying, I think we might gonna have to get some type of, what type of thing we need, Bill, a statement to let us know. Heather might get it, I don't know. Get a statement of what this board mean because they never done a motto or whatever, you know. And, you know, make Bill 6 first. I'll say it 4 or 5 times. We're gonna get a hell of down. We're gonna let her go and figure it out. But everybody got a statement, a mission statement. The school's got a mission statement. A mission statement is almost hold you to something because it will allow you to come back for accountability. And a mission statement is pretty cool. And putting Mill 6 first is a good quote. Heather, when you finish it up, we let us know.
I feel compelled, Mr. Chairman.
Eye contact.
I would recommend you not let the attorney write the mission statement. Because you'll probably want to read it at the beginning of every meeting and we don't have 15 minutes.
Reggie, you said a lot of good things there, and I appreciate you saying.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. I'll just comment briefly. The complex committee, the installation of the lights on Field 3 will be completed maybe tomorrow, if not very soon. So the committee jumped on that quickly, and with the help of the board for some funding, that's going to be completed very quickly. In addition to what's going on with that, there's also some improvements going on 3 fields down there. They've been putting dirt down on them yesterday and today, and they've solicited me to come and help tomorrow, so I'll probably be down there doing that. But it's coming together great. I'm amazed at, and we've said that before at a Board of Supervisors meeting, that there's a lot of things that go on down there, and it's just fantastic, the people that show up to not charge anything and help to do, which takes a big burden off the county to take care of all of the things that they do there, including the maintenance of the facility, the pavilion that was added last year. It's just amazing people that will come and donate their physical time and talents to do the things that we need to do there. So that's moving along and moving along greatly. I did, as the town administrator spoke, I did go and meet him to welcome him to Middlesex County, and to also show the support that the board has with the town, which is important. We had a nice meeting there at his office. I also attended the Middlesex, and we have another meeting coming up pretty soon, but the Middlesex High School Renovation Committee, which we're talking about a lot of things with that time frame, cost, phasing of the project, a variety of things, and we're doing pretty well with that. I also sat on the historical. In fact, some of you guys, I don't think are on enough committees. We may have to talk about that. Anyway, the Historical Courthouse Committee, there's going to be a, downstairs is going to be a bookcase, so to speak, which we will rotate periodically, of things that people can come into the courthouse. We're looking at a lot of different things of what maybe would make sense for us to do. And that is a very, very, I'm the weak link on that committee, because the history in the county and the people that know the history, Mr. Tunin sits on that committee as well, and it's just amazing the amount of information that comes through that committee that I think I know quite a bit, but I don't stand close to the 5 or 6 members that's on there of what they know about the county. And we're trying to incorporate some of that on maybe even the look of the inside here of the courthouse. So we'll be forthcoming with that. We're still in a big work process on deciding what may make sense and what may not make sense. And of course, I guess I'm there to control what the dollars are spent, I guess. But anyway, it's a very good committee, and it's doing some fantastic work. In addition to that, the EDA Steering Committee, we'll be meeting on that pretty soon as well. Yep. And that also is a good opportunity for the county and the EDA to be on the same page, and the things that we can get from the EDA on how they can better help the county in a lot of different areas as well. So that's all I have. Anybody else? Ms. Ricardi, you got anything you'd like to add?
Nah.
I saw you look at the clock.
Is there an opening on VDA?
Um, I don't,
Is there an opening on?
maybe. I don't think so, though.
Okay, okay.
But I'll check that. I think we'd already made our appropriation to somebody that went off. So I think currently we're in good shape. Mr. Administrator, you have anything you'd like to add?
For the sake of time, no, but next month, we're going to be bringing some resolutions of appreciation for a number of folks from the Planning Commission and other bodies that have either passed away or have retired from the board, and we probably need to recognize them. We'll try to get all that done before the March meeting.
Good, absolutely. County Attorney?
Around that same area, kind of brought up something, the other day when the sheriff's officer was speaking. One of the things they brought up was about being able to commend someone when they do something great. You know, that doesn't cost us anything. And I think it means a lot to people to tell them when they do a good job. And if we could, I think we should get the message through the sheriff's department. We're willing to do that right away, I would hope. I mean, if someone does good, I think we should commend them.
Well, if the board's of the mind, I'd be happy to work with Mickey and further develop that whole program that he presented. He put a lot of work and thought into that. And he's got some really good ideas. And it may be even broader applications are in order for something like that. So I'd be happy to work with him.
I'd like to work with you as well on that. if we
Very
could.
good, very good.
Just so everybody knows, we do have some things already in place, so we'll be building on top of that. How about that? And there is an opening on the EDA,
Oh, it is?
according to page 90 of our packet. I was double, because I didn't think so either. I
Okay.
just got that.
Well, we'll have a steering committee, and we'll talk about that at that time as well. That EDA, was that district specific?
It doesn't, it doesn't appear in the packet, but we'd have to double check that. I think, Shanae, do you recall?
It was Mr. Cawthorn.
Oh, that's right, Mr. Cawthorn.
Okay.
or something.
He
Yeah. I was so
resigned
upset.
on the 18th.
Right. Okay, we'll follow up on that. Great. No problem. Other than
I think now
that,
we're just at public comment, sir.
pardon me?
I think we're at public comment.
Well, aren't we at a recess prior
No,
to
sir,
that?
we have a public comment prior
Oh,
at number
my
10,
bad.
please.
Yeah, you're exactly right. I'm glad you keep me on track. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Okay, I will open the public comment section. If anyone would like to speak.
I'm Brian Miller. I live at 36 Wild Goose Drive. I was sitting back at it. I wasn't going to say anything, but after Reggie spoke, I said, I got to get there and say something.
Go ahead, Mr. Miller. Glad to have you.
Thank you. David, when you talked about VMRC abandoned derelict vessel program, right? So you sort of have like some reservations about whether that's a good program or not?
Sir, this is public comment.
I know,
time. Your
okay,
comments
okay.
are for the
All right.
board.
I
Thank you.
understand that. I understand that. All right, I'm just, this is, you know, what I'm saying is, it is a really good program, and I've done a lot of research on it. And, you know, perhaps David didn't have the right information, but it's a needed program in Middlesex, and we should really try to pursue it. And that's just about all I can say about it. But it is a good program. Thank you. I don't do very well with this type of format. You know, I like to ask questions and talk.
Thank you, Mr. Miller, for your comments. I'm sure that you may get a call at some point from Mr. Kretz or somebody else to get your opinions. So with that being said, I'm going to close. Anybody else want to speak? If not, I'm going to close the public comment section, and we'll be in recess until 7 p.m.